Good morning, and to our friends joining us abroad, good evening. Welcome to Mirage Talk. Before I introduce our speaker, I would like to mention we have an exciting lineup this season. Please check out our website, miragetalks.mirageinstitute.org, where you can find the latest information. Also, our WhatsApp. We hope to see you each week with helpful insights for today's entrepreneur. So I hope everyone has gotten their cup of coffee to discuss today's topic. Let's grab coffee. Today we welcome a dear friend and leader of our foundation. She is also a very impressive ultramarathon runner. She's a senior relationship manager at LinkedIn, public speaker, and superwoman of many trades, Liat Netanel. We are very interested to hear how we can convert a cup of coffee into a business opportunity. Thank you so much. Let's get started.
Thank you so much, and I'm delighted to be here. Some of the faces are familiar on the line, but for those that I haven't met, so many years ago, I was the program manager of Mirage Institute and helped with organizing the groups and seminars in Israel before you flew to the US to have all the meetings there. So delighted to be here. I feel like we're actually closing a circle. From my end, I'm at the moment based in Dublin, despite my beautiful background of Tel Aviv. So for me, it's like a good evening, but good morning for the rest of you regarding of having coffee. I will transform to a glass of wine soon after this session. So you presented me so well. I feel like I don't need to say anything, except I'll probably lower down a little bit of all the compliments. So just in a few words, Liat Netanel, former lawyer, at the moment senior relationship manager, which is an account manager at LinkedIn, a bit like other counterparts of my generation, which is the generation of the slashers. It's like we're doing this and that and this and that. So in parallel to working in LinkedIn in my day-to-day work, I also do public speaking, as we'll see at the moment. And when I don't do neither of those, I run a lot. I participate in competitions all over the world of ultramarathon running, which is every distance that is longer than a marathon. My latest race, my latest race was 2 years ago here in Ireland for 200K, which is around 120 miles. And I think that was the longest, most challenging, the hardest thing I've ever done. So since then, I'm just running, but I'm not competing at the moment. I think I still recover mentally from this race. But we're not here to talk about running. So I'll share my screen with you, and we're going to do it the Israeli way. First of all, because you're not a lot of people on the call, so happy days, more attention to you. And if you have questions, feel free to ask, because I won't see any of you. I will pause for questions through the presentation, but I hope it will be more of an open discussion and less of just me running through the deck. One thing I want to say in advance, everything you'll see here today is my best practices. So it's practically sharing with you my experience of, I would like to say maybe 1,000 meetings I already held and been in different positions of business development, corporate startups, how can you say, like consulting firms. So all over the place, how can you create and build relationships with different stakeholders when practically you reach out to someone new, and how can you maintain the relationship? Let's get started. Okay, so I want to start my story with sharing with you a story about this lovely lady. So when I decided I wanted to run my first 100 miles, why is a totally different topic for a different session, but I decided I want to participate in my first 100 miles, and the race took place in Croatia. Back then I lived in Tel Aviv, so I wanted to start practicing, right? But in comparison to other races that are like nearby, let's say Tel Aviv Marathon or Jerusalem Marathon or whatever, I had no idea how the trail will look like. So I couldn't travel to Croatia in advance to see the trail, so I had to find creative ways of understanding what's the story, how can I prepare properly, what are the things that I should be aware of. And I didn't know what I will do, so I had this moment of epiphany. I was like, okay, let's contact people from last year's race who completed the race, and let's have a chat with them. So I reached out to a few of them, and then this lovely lady answered. So we started chatting, and I was like so excited that she answered, and I was like asking all sorts of questions about the terrain and things I should prepare and preferred food and whatever. And suddenly she pauses me while I'm asking a lot of questions, and she's like, wait, you're traveling all the way from Israel to participate this race? And I'm like, yeah. And then she says, oh, wait, and you'll be the first woman from Israel to do that. I'm like, I guess so. And then she said, okay, wait a minute, and just disappeared. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. Waited a few minutes. I'm like, maybe she went to grab a cup of water. Waited, nothing. Really weird, but I was like, okay, at least she answered my questions. A few days later, I received this message. So Dalmatia Ultra Trail is the name of the race. And as you see written here, dear Liat, we have good news. Francesca Canepa has proposed to you to participate in Dalmatia Ultra Trail. What I didn't know when I spoke with her, and I realized thanks to this message, she actually got first place in the former years. So she was the first woman to win the race in the former year. And for that, she got a free pass to recommend a runner for the next year. So only later I realized that one of her main topics to promote is women in sports and women in endurance. And the fact that I reached out to her actually met exactly what she wanted. And it was to promote another woman to participate in the race. And she recommended me to the race, so I didn't have to pay any fee or participate any, like there's a lottery and not everyone gets in. So when this situation happened, I didn't know much on like what's going on and what's the story, but looking in hindsight and connecting the dots backwards, I understood that eventually when we know how to approach someone and talk about what matters to them, we will probably get anything we want. So with that, I want us to start our conversation for today. So what we're going to talk about today is practically how to make a coffee meeting effective. And like for every Israeli who was in the army, everything is divided in three. So 3 parts. First of all, we're going to talk about the reach out, how we reach out to a person that we've never met, who has no idea who we are, and actually try to communicate with them and meet with them. The second part is the meeting itself. What do we do and not to do in meetings to make them effective? And the third part is the follow-up. Now, when we think about meeting with people, being out there, whatever, usually the most common thing that we know about, we think about our salespeople, right? Like sales usually have to be out there, approachable, reaching out, pushing. And back in the day, today I'm a salesperson, but back in the day when I used to think what salespeople feel like for me, it's the opposite of what I do. It's the sprinters, because salespeople have no time. They have eyes on the prize. They have to be spot on, all the time pushing, like very nudging to people to get something from them. And when I had to picture what do salespeople look like for me, that's the photo I saw in my head. Remember, Sell Me This Pen? Whoever hasn't seen this movie for some reason, you already have homework. Brilliant, brilliant movie. And I was like, hell no, I'm not going to be that kind of person. Okay, because I'm not a sprinter. I'm a long distance runner. I invest in relationships. That's not my type. In parallel, when I had to think about people who are long distance runners that are building relationships, I thought about this woman, Catherine Schwitzer. Whoever is not familiar, on the left-hand side, the black and white photo is back in 1967. She wanted to participate in the Boston Marathon. Women were not allowed to participate back then. So what she did is that she wrote herself to the race with her name's initials, so nobody knew if it's a man or a woman. When the race started, as you can see, organizers of the race saw her and tried to push her from the race trail. She managed to run away. She finished the race, obviously not in the result that she aimed for, because you're not supposed to fight when you run a marathon. However, after this race, participating for women was available to all, and she is considered to be one of the pioneers of pushing women for endurance and long distance running. As you can see, she kept her numbers 261, and she participated a few years later and won the New York Marathon. And she's an evangelist and leader in this world. And when I think about long distance relationship and building partnerships, I always think about it as in something that is a long distance. It's not just sprint running selling, but it's more of building relationships. And for the purpose of the talk today, we are not here to sell. Even if this is our aim eventually, we are here to build relationships. Okay, so the entire focus for today is to make us all marathon and ultra marathon runners. Good. With that note, I want to give you like literally 1 minute, because we're very short on time, to write yourselves 3 people that you currently have on your short list to communicate and build relationships with, whether it's to partner with, to raise money from, to sell to, whatever it is. I want you to write those 3 names. I'm going to get some tissue. I'll be right back. Few more seconds. It's really weird, like talking to myself. I don't see you. No faces. Very weird. Okay. Put this list on the side. We'll get to it later. So, as promised, when the deck will collaborate with me, the first part is the reach out. So practically, there's some kind of a, I don't know, paradox around reaching out, because what we say to people is that, hey, Mr. or Miss, I don't know you, but I want to get a portion of your most sacred resource, a resource that none of us have enough of. What is this resource? Let's see that everyone is awake. What's the resource we never have enough of?
Time.
Time. Thank you very much, Avi. Exactly, time. So I practically reach out to someone who has no idea who I am, and I ask for their time. How do I do it properly? Again, dividing to 3. First part, I reach out and I make it short and simple. Okay, the reach out path or the tools that help me reach out are 2. It's either via LinkedIn or an email. Okay, please avoid WhatsApp and all those areas. I find it very intrusive for people just to, I don't know how they get my number and immediately they send me a WhatsApp message. It's too much. There are professional streams to work with. It's either your email or in LinkedIn. Stay with those. Now, when you reach out, many times people give a lot of a background. Okay, so the message is very, very long. From what I've noticed, most of the people today have no patience. Okay, so you want to be in a position that your email or LinkedIn message is within the basic box that is opening. What do I mean by that? Is that when the person opened the email, and most of us are with the cell phone all the time, they can see immediately your title, your signature apply in the email. So what happens is that the eye first scans the email, okay? They haven't read it yet, but they see the signature appearing right away. So immediately what the brain does, it's like, it's such a short email, just read it. You want to be in a position that you are able to articulate your message shortly and precisely, and it doesn't have to be very long and explanatory and everything. You just want a short portion of the time for like just to put the foot in the door. Okay, it's not about giving a long background of or whatever is going on. The short and simple you keep it, most likely you'll get a yes. The second part is that it's all about them. I know that each and every one of us' mom used to tell us that we are the most important person in the world. Probably yes, but not in that perspective. When it comes to this area of building long-distance relationship, the focus is the other side. Okay, so everything we write is in the light of we want to help them. They are the focus. It's not about us. Okay, and the more we focus on the other party, the more they would like to actually meet with us, because in the end of the day, people are focused on their own needs and objectives and challenges. So if we talk about how we want or something about us, the other party won't collaborate. And lastly, I highly recommend always end it with a question, right? Would they this and this at this time, and write the time according to the other party's time zone, will suit for a 20-minute call. Like always try to avoid the kind regards, looking forward to hearing from you. Try to send like a bait to make them come towards you. So ending with a question is always more engaging than just closing the emails and letting the other party respond. I want to show you a few examples. So the first example is skip the intro. The ideal situation is that you have a person, a connected mutual connection that can make the intro between you, because a warm connection, that's the best thing ever. However, I don't want to be dependent on other people to make me a connection. So skip the intro is a situation, for example, Chaim on the call and I are well acquainted from the past. And let's say I want to meet with Avi. Okay, Avi and I have never met. However, Chaim and Avi know each other from the Mirage Institute. So let's say I speak to Chaim, okay, and I don't feel comfortable asking for a warm intro, but I can talk to him and ask a few questions about Avi and tell him that I might reach out to Avi and ask like a question and talk about them. And then when I reach out to Avi, I write it following to my conversation with Chaim. Now, it's very important not to do name dropping without a base, but if I address Avi and I had a conversation with Chaim in advance, what happens is that he looks in the title, he says, okay, I have no idea who this Liat is, but I know Chaim. So obviously he will be more willing to communicate with me because I have some kind of connectivity. The email I show you here is following a conversation I had with David Blake. I want to meet with Sarah, and Sarah and David are acquainted. So I actually did the name drop. I skipped the intro. I skipped the warm intro from David with Sarah, and I just communicated directly to her. So many times it can be very helpful if you do a name dropping that has a base, just to get a better path to the other side. Because once there's the person receives the email, knows the other person you mentioned, they will be like, okay, I don't know who that person is, but it's kind of safe. It's safer. It's not like a complete cold call. The second example is putting the other side on the spot of the expert. Okay, again, as we said, the focus is always on the other party. The email you see here that I reached out to Tunç, he was a former colleague of mine. At this point, I was interviewing for LinkedIn, and I wanted to understand more about what's a senior relationship manager role is all about. So I literally reached out, and as you can see, I wrote him 4 lines. That's it. I didn't give him any context. It was just like, I'm addressing to you, I'm writing you because you have a vast experience in the relationship management role. I would like to hear more about your day-to-day. Happy to schedule a Zoom meeting for next week. Very like super on the spot. It's not about me, it's about his expertise. Okay, and as soon as someone feels like they are the expert, most likely they would like to communicate and answer. The third example is more specific, and it's following something that the other party published. Okay, usually people we want to meet will be out there. They have LinkedIn posts, they have podcasts, they just ran a lecture, whatever. The more specific you are and following to something specific, something they just recently did, a post they published, a lecture they deliver, whatever it is, most likely they will answer. Because if I write something that is very generic, people are not engaged. But if someone writes me following a blog I just published, it's like, oh, this person actually reads what I'm writing. They're actually interested. It creates more engagement of, okay, if this person actually put the time to read what I'm talking about, maybe it's worth meeting with them. In the end of the day, we're all moved by attention. So you want to be in a position that you are spot on and very personalized in your message to give the right attention to the other side. Pausing for questions about reaching out. Any questions so far? It's either everybody is shocked or the coffee hasn't kicked in yet.
No question.
No question. Okay, thank you, Avi. You're saving the rest. Appreciate it. Okay. A bit of drama. The next slide is the most important thing I have to tell you in this session, okay? The most important. This is like the peak of the session is the next slide, okay? So you have to pay very, very, very close attention because that's practically the summary of everything around relationship building. Are you ready? The golden rule is when you talk to someone about themselves, they will listen forever, not even hours. Again, think about it, how it doesn't make any sense. If you talk to someone about themselves, they will listen to you forever. And the reason is very simple. Again, we are always focused on what we want, our needs, our story, our objectives. When you have the capability to talk to someone about their needs, it creates a rule of reciprocity, okay? Technically, like chemistry, what happens in our brain, when I get the stage and the feeling that I get to be seen, I get to be heard, my brain releases dopamine. What dopamine does is that it makes me very happy. It's released when I'm in the zone, but it has another side effect, which makes people more generous. I've checked it thousands of times. When you talk to someone about themselves, at some point they'll be like, remind me again, how can I help you? And that's exactly the point you want them to be in, because you want them to offer something instead of you asking for it. But it means that we have to be patient with pushing what we want to sell or offer and be more in a position of asking questions, getting them to talk more. Talk to someone about themselves, they will listen forever. I need 2 volunteers. Let's see if everyone's awake.
I'm up.
Thank you, Avi. The savior of the session. And besides Avi, who else?
I'll save the day.
Yay, thank you, Ellie. Okay, Avi and Ellie, what we're going to do now is the following. I'm giving you 3 minutes. In those 3 minutes, you talk to one another, and you have to find 3 interesting, we're in the rule of 3 today, 3 interesting things you have in common. Now, geography, like we're both from Israel and speak Hebrew, no, easy. It's too obvious, okay? We're both in the Mirage programs, too easy.
But I'm not from Israel. Hey, I
whatever, you're Israeli. Forget it. Speak Hebrew. Forget it. Out of the line. Think of 3 interesting, find 3 interesting things that are common to you, okay? You can start talking. The clock is running. 3 minutes.
So Ellie,
Right.
tell a bit about your passions. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do on your free time when you're not smashing stuff and tasks around?
Lots around the sports. I like to do road biking, watch soccer, go to the gym. Any of
Oh,
that
wow.
talk to you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I do go to the gym, lift heavy weight and put it down, and I do. I'm not doing road bike. I used to do it in the past, but nowadays I'm more into downhill and mountain biking. So what kind of
Oh.
bikes do you use?
Yeah, so I do road bike. I have that's what I do, but I do ride the mountain bike when I'm in Israel. And actually, I just did a nice ride this past Saturday with a friend of mine who is an avid mountain biker. So
Oh, nice. And
so
do
we
you?
found one thing.
Yeah. All right. Do you? What is the best? I'll say, what is the best team in soccer in Israel that you like to watch?
Well, I used to play for Hapoel Kfar Saba a long
Oh,
time
wow.
ago. So I'm an ex soccer player myself. But the team that I follow most closely today is Haifa.
Oh, okay. And do you find road biking and soccer being an advantage when it comes to being physically in shape? So to do the one can help you with the other, or just the opposite?
Well, I do a lot of the biking. Soccer, I mainly watch these days. I found that I became too old to play. Well, when I play, it's not too old, but then the pain comes later, so I try to avoid that. Let's shift gear to something else. Do you like wine?
No, not really, honestly.
So what type
No,
of alcohol do you like,
I'm
or
I'm
do?
more I'm more into old fashions and beer.
Oh, there you go. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So,
So what was the What was I'll say your go-to bourbon when it comes to old fashions?
Well, I'll be honest. When I do take old fashioned, for me, I cannot feel the difference between one brand to the other of the actual bourbon. So I'll take whatever they give me.
Oh, if that's a rule of thumb, that's a problem to give what they to take what they give
No,
you.
it's not a problem. We go out and have old fashioned. I'll just take whatever you take.
I see. All right, great. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I can help you with that.
Okay, I'm pausing you here because we have 3 minutes, and actually, I think like you will two meet for old fashioned, and I'll join you for the glass of wine. So I just pushed myself to your next meeting. But thank you both very much. What we did
Sure.
here, so practically, I counted two mutual topics, I would say. So one is sports and all around it, like riding bike, the soccer, the gym, and obviously alcohol. So great two topics to discuss. Probably if I would have given you more than 3 minutes, you would have brought much more. And what we did here is a very efficient methodology to lead with when you have meetings, and it's called the hat theory. We all have loads and loads and loads of hats. Okay, we have personal hats, we have professional hats, and the idea of the hat theory is that when you meet someone, our initial response is to push them away because they are strangers, right? And our system is very dichotomic. It's like good, bad, friend, enemy. It's like pushing away something that is different. And like our Neanderthal brain perceives someone who's new as some kind of danger. When you play with the hat theory with someone that is new and you find a lot of similarities, it's much easier to engage with them and to get them to want to do business with you. Because in the end of the day, we want to do business with people who are familiar to us. Okay, so when they say don't do business with friends and family, probably, but you want to do something that is similar to your friends, people with the same shared values, people with the same hobbies, that you can go to drink an old fashioned after the meeting. So you want to find all those similarities. So by doing this, we'll talk about in a minute how you get there. But when you meet someone new, it's always to lead with the hat theory of finding as many mutual hats as you have as possible. I've found this theory super effective when I stand in line in conferences and like in line for coffee or tea. So I feel always awkward to stand next to people and I'm like, okay, what? I'm not going to talk to them. And I'll be like, where do you come here from? What brought you to this conference? So to look for the easiest mutual ground you can to start a conversation with people. Let's talk about the meeting regarding what to do, what not to do. So first of all, you want to lead with questions. As you saw here very clearly by Avi and Eli, they kept asking one another questions. The more questions you ask, and not in the mode of a third degree, more of like open-end question, let the other party answer like a full answer, you get the other party talking. If you remember, the more they talk, in the end of the day, they'll do what you want. The second thing is you want to be present in the meeting. Okay, this is Satan. Cell phones are hell. And it doesn't matter if you put a cell phone face up or face down. And now with the notifications on clocks as well, horrible. You're not really present in the meeting. Now, I know a lot is going on in the moment, especially in Israel, but for 1 hour, you can be in a position that you're not available and put the phone on silent mode in the bag. Because when we sit in front of someone and as soon as something happens and we're distracted by notification, we're practically disrespectful to their time. And it's stronger than us because we're oral addicted. So I'm just saying, put it away so it won't have the slightest opportunity to be a temptation. The third thing is you are what you wear. And this is something that I always find funny to tell Israelis because we're super, super, super casual. However, as my German grandmother always says, you can never be overdressed. You can always be underdressed. So it's much better to read the audience and know who you're meeting with. Obviously, when you go to VC meeting or raising funds, you'll come dressed in one way. If you go to meet something that is like more of partners or whatever, startups in Israel, it will be another way. Depends where you are in the world, if you're in Europe or somewhere that is hotter and more casual. But always keep in mind that there's a lot that you say without saying anything. So being in a position that is a bit too underdressed might create a first impression that you would like to avoid. So think about it before you go to the meeting. A few 911 questions, because if we follow what we did here, and obviously Avi and Eli are very experienced in those things, but sometimes you sit in front of people who are not very collaborative and very hard to crack. So I found 3 main questions that always save me if I get stuck in meetings and I'm like, wow, this is a very challenging counterpart. So the first one is, where did you get the idea for? You want people to be able to describe a flow, to share a process, how they got the idea for the product, how they got the idea for the new, whatever, methodology, for the new program they built, whatever. So you let them share a flow, and people like to share success stories. So that's an opportunity to share a success story of something they did. The second thing is, what are your goals for the upcoming year? Okay, so it's not in a HR review, it's more of understanding what's the priorities of the other side. Because, for example, from my end, I'm selling Sales Navigator, which is one of LinkedIn's solutions. If I talk to the VP sales of company X, and then they tell me that the focus of the company for 2024 is developing more features on their product, and they're not going to enlarge their sales team, they might not be relevant for me. So it's good for me to understand what's the priority and what's on the table, and for you as well. Once you understand what's the priorities of the other side, you can frame whatever you want to sell or offer the other party in the light of what's their priorities. So be in a position that you always align with understanding what's going on and what's interesting for the other side. And lastly, this is like taking a child into a candy store. What do you like best about what you do? When each and every one of us probably have things they like in the role and don't like in the role. But if I have to talk about things that I love in my role, it keeps me on a positive mode. Keeping me on a positive mode, I'm more collaborative. I'll be happy to help to the other side. So also the people you meet with, what they like about what they do. You can learn more about them, what's their focus, what do they find most interesting, and then everything you talk about later will be in light of those things. A few things to avoid. So first of all, tell me about your greatest failure or what's not working today. I know this is like a legit disco question when you do a discovery call. I find it a bit harsh for a first meeting when it's just like reading the room and meeting the person for the first time, because you put people on the spot of what's not working. If they, from their own will, share with you what's not working, that's a different story. But I wouldn't lead with this question. I would wait with it for like a later stage of the relationship. The second thing is like the all over the place question, which is like, wow, what's your magic? What you're doing so great. I'm just saying it as someone in the past used to ask it a lot, and it gives the other party like a feeling of there is no magic. Like we just work hard, we work very methodologically, like what's going on? Weird question, avoid it. And the third thing is avoid all the topics that can be very controversial. Politics, religion, stereotypes, and yeah, still COVID-19 is on the table. Specifically around the war, I would always also avoid as much as possible, especially when you don't know what's the position of the other side. Yes, it's okay to address like the topic in, I hope your family is fine or whatever, but I wouldn't go directly to the political side of it, because you never know what's going on the other side. Where does it meet them? Why going there? We're trying to build a relationship. Let's focus on good stuff like old-fashioned and bike rides. Like move away from those topics. Any questions about the meeting before we talk about follow-ups? All the quiet people. Okay. It's funny, it's recorded. Funny. Okay. So we were lucky enough to reach out and build a great personalized message that helped us get some time with the person we want to meet with. And then we had a great meeting, got all the information we need for a follow-up meeting, already building like the structure of the upcoming relationship with this person, company, whatever. Now, super important, because the follow-up is what takes us from the one-time meeting to the potential of building a new relationship here. So again, focusing on 3. First thing we do with a follow-up, again, keep it short and if possible, personal. What do I mean by that? let's just say I was a fly on the wall at Avi and Ellie's meeting. Okay, they spoke a lot about business, but at some point they got to the fact that they are both mutual lovers of sports, of soccer, of alcohol, whatever. I will always try to give something more personal in the follow-up. So instead of just writing, thank you for your time, for the insights, whatever, I also found a really nice brewery that is located in whatever the city you live in. Was wondering if you had a chance to go and see it and visit it, whatever. So you give something that gives a bit more flavor to the follow-up and not just very technical, thank you for your time, thank you for the meeting, something with a bit more edge. And that's why you want the hat theory to have more perspectives and more possibilities to learn about the person in front of you, just instead of just the very narrow professional perspective. The second thing is the question of call to action. So I come from sales, and in sales, if there is no call to action, it's not a good meeting. However, we are here in order to build relationships, and you don't always have call to action immediately after the first meeting. I'll give you 2 examples in a minute, but the call to action is not a must in a first meeting. And the third thing is a reminder for another follow-up. So this is where you start the journey. Whoever is in sales and work with CRM, you know that you put yourself a reminder in the CRM to send another follow-up. Before I worked with a CRM as a salesperson, I used to put myself reminders in the calendar. And the gap between the current meeting to the follow-up, it depends on how much I need to keep this relationship warm and progressing. There are people that I want to maintain relationship with, so I put myself a reminder for a follow-up in the next quarter. And then it's like once every few months, it's just to do like a bit of like a catch up, what's going on, how are you? This is like just to keep the relationship running and to be in their minds. But there's relationships that are more specific and accurate for now. So I'll put myself a reminder for 2 weeks time. It depends each person, what's the status. Want to share with you 2 examples. So when it's with a call to action, this is an example of someone who I met in a conference, shared with them the material after the meeting because they asked me deliberately. So when I was meeting with them in the conference, I was sharing a few of the programs that we had in the consulting firm. And then he said, oh, it sounds interesting. Can you share more material? I would have never, ever, ever pushed the material into a follow-up email if they haven't asked me. It's too pushy. Probably I would get a pushback. So in this specific case, because he requested for it, I attached it. The second example is someone I met, but there was no action item specifically for the moment. It was more of an opportunity for me to learn more about their business. So I thanked the person for meeting with me, and I left the door open. Okay, I wrote myself like, I want to thank you again, and I hope we will meet again soon. So it's like once I decide to follow up again, it's not out of the blue. It was just like, okay, I'm following up to our last meeting. I have a few more questions. I want to share with you this. I want to do that. So you leave the opportunity for more communication in the future. I want to talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, so being in a position that you're always out there and always reaching out to people, there are 2 main areas that are not so comfortable. One of them is being rejected, never fun. And the worst one for me personally is to be ignored. Now, I always say I prefer a clear no than a vague, like maybe, okay? Being rejected, not fun, but I always say 100%, I hope sometime in the future we will have a chance to meet again. And sometimes, you know, the karma does her way and you meet. With being ignored, I find it most impactful to send 2 more follow-ups. One is like, hi, I just wanted to make sure my email didn't get lost. If they don't answer, the second email will be like, I'm following up the last 2 emails. And then it depends on the person. Sometimes I would say, I want to avoid spamming you, so I will not send any more follow-ups. When the right time will arise, I'd be happy for you to contact me. And then you detach. And many times that's what makes people actually move and write you back. And sometimes they don't, and it's fine, because there are people who are feeling uncomfortable rejecting, so they just disappear. I don't like it personally, but each person behaves differently. So I find those 2 options, obviously they happen, Although, to be fair, if you follow everything we covered so far, not a lot. Most of the time, people are willing to meet. I want to summarize, and then I'll pause for questions. So first of all, we want to shoot to the stars. Okay, eventually, we're all human beings. If you know how to find and articulate your message in a way that will find what's relevant for the other party, they will always want to meet with you, because eventually we're all people trying to push our goals in the world and achieve what we want to achieve. Persistence is the name of the game. No one ran an ultra marathon by not being persistent. So we are all ultra marathon runners, and it's just to do it over and over and over again. A/B testing, trying this way, trying that way, but always keep on the move. And the more actions you put into it, the more you learn. And what we do is that we start today. So you remember the list of the names, the 3 people that I told you at the beginning. So now, when you know how to do it properly, you choose one of them and you reach out to them today. I'll be happy to connect, obviously, but now I'll stop sharing so I can actually see your faces for those who share their camera open. And I'm happy to pause for questions if there are any. No faces on the screen, just myself. Oh my God. Yay, Ellie. Thank you. Oh, hello. A lot of faces suddenly. Happy days. Any questions? Okay.
I have a question, actually.
Yes.
So at LinkedIn, if you want to kind of focus on this, what do you think are some of the obstacles that that we're facing in today's market, that some of the employees maybe at LinkedIn are finding very challenging?
When you say obstacles, you mean employees of LinkedIn, people
Yeah,
on the platform?
Yeah, you're trying to build relationships,
Mhm.
and so in that sector, what do you see as some common obstacles today?
So I think it depends. First of all, I'm a seller, right? People don't like salespeople. So if I
Right.
reach out to someone, they'll be like, aha, what you're trying to sell, move away. So first of all, it's how do I manage to position myself as a trusted advisor and not a seller? And when I reach out to people, it's always to do like a 20-minute call where it's literally to get a better understanding of how they operate and how I can support them. I don't want to sell anything. I literally, genuinely, in a curious way, want to learn about them. And sometimes the call will end and I'll be like, I'm sorry, I get you. I cannot help or whatever. But then it's very short and it's like 20 minutes. So most people, if you come in a genuine way, I want to help you achieve your goals, they're willing to give you the time. And then I do the homework and see if there is an opportunity or not. So it's to be more patient. I think that's one thing that many people, LinkedIn employees, are very pushy in a way of like, I want to sell. It's not LinkedIn employees, just sellers in general. And I think with today's time, when there's macroeconomic in the world, everything in Israel, people are very, very, very short. Like generally people are short, but now they're even shorter. And it just put us in a position that the sellers, the people who are trying to actually push something new, to be very accurate and very spot on. Like I try to keep most of my conversations, even with people that I work with, that we're already in a relationship, to schedule 30 minutes and always finish earlier, because I know that people are busy and they don't have the brain capacity. And it's like, I want to bring you maximum value. So there is no point of just putting you on the line, getting more of your time. Like, okay, if we can finish it in 15 minutes, 17 minutes, go have another coffee. Goodbye. Like happy to give time back. So I think this is the area of like being super, super sharp, spot on, focus on the providing value. Long answer, but I hope it's.
No. Actually, also what I kind of heard too is that people have lost faith or in salespeople.
Yeah.
So your approach is you're trying to build trust with
Mhm.
these people on the smallest measurement so that they can have faith in what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Liat, I found that specifically in the defense industry, it is very hard to get in front of some of the, I'll say, the stakeholders or the end users of the technology / the system, the product, or whatever, because most of them are still active duty. Most of them are they're actually using other products, or they are under a very tight schedule to read emails and to reply. How will you recommend to get in front of these people when you are specifically in a place, for example, like the United States, when you are far away, you cannot meet for a coffee?
Yeah, good point. So everything around defense force, like obviously they're probably not so active on LinkedIn as well. I presume they have profiles, but probably they don't really publish a lot. And like, yeah, I hope so that they have
Almost
strict,
zero. Yeah.
yeah, zero, exactly.
That's one of the reasons I'm not showing my face as well. I'm sorry.
No worries, it's okay. I think so. It's a bit the Sherlock Holmes mode. Bear with me. I would do a lot of research to see all of those people. How can I get warm intros with them? So it's to work very extensively on the circles that we have. And I presume you're located in the US, but you work with the Defense Forces of Israel, right? So like, let's do the 2-degree separation. If you haven't seen the TED Talk of Kevin Bacon, of 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon, it's brilliant. So I recommend to watch it. But for Israelis / Jewish people, it's the 2-degree separation. Like whoever you know, probably there's at least 2 people between you that can make the intro. You have to go with warm intros. Like there's no other way you can get to those people. And the people who help you with warm intros are practically your advocates. And they will have to help you to get to those people because there is no other way to get to those people that you want to. They're all under the radar like yourself. So let's say if I had to reach out to you, which would be probably impossible because I presume like unless it's an email that is super encrypted, there is no way I would be able to reach out to you. So probably I would have asked someone from the Mirage Institute to help me with the warm intro. Like I know there is no way you would have answered me otherwise. So you have to do vice versa with them.
We usually call it your network is your net worth. And
exactly.
The way that we collaborate is basically on personal relations. A warm introduction via a genuine credibility that you got from another person.
Exactly. Warm intro.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other question? My favorite hobby, besides long distance running, is giving time back. So I'm happy to give you time back, but I'm here to answer your questions. So that's like, I feel like it's a last call, like I'm on a platform, train platform, going once, going twice.
Well, the good news is that this talk is recorded, so there will be many more views for it.
Oh, 100%. And I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn and for follow-up questions like I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Haha. Okay.
Okay. Well, do we have any more questions before we close?
Yeah, one quick question. Michael Rosenberg. I was many years in the security business, and now I'm more in the B2C, in commercial, like in consumer business, trying to sell or promote companies on the consumer. And I feel very difficult to start and sell via LinkedIn. And any training that you are recommending to start or to review, to see, that's really difficult. It's very slow. You need to approach many people. You're very difficult to manage all those contacts. And there is a small, tiny window when people are answering you. So how to convert it to maybe to a CRM. And that's would be highly appreciated if you can review about this issue.
So I'll just say it in a nutshell because it's a huge topic to just focus on. First of all, I'll highlight that LinkedIn is a B2B platform. Now, I don't like the B2B, B2C because in the end of the day, it's P2P, person to person. However, when it's a B2C, which means it's a scale amount of people, usually there are other platforms that are more relevant. Connecting to CRM and all of that, it's only when you're in a corporate account. So we have all those capabilities, but it's B2B and it's like a significant amount of people. It's not one person, it's at least 10. And then there's connectivity to CRM and write back and all the things you just mentioned. One thing I would say is that I would try to see if you have, because when it's B2C, it's a totally different strategy. There's a lot more in automation and campaigns, and it's like a totally different strategy than B2B. I would try to see if you have any opportunity to work with channels. So you work with the channels and they are actually the agencies, they work directly with the people. That's one thing I would try. The second thing I would try is to consult with agencies that are actually professionals that their focus is B2C, which is not me. I don't know B2C, I do only B2B.
Okay.
Because maybe there are other tools that are more effective. I cannot believe I'm saying it because I think LinkedIn is the best platform in the world, but I don't think it's suitable for B2C. So maybe trying something just like a different strategy that would be more effective.
Okay. But B2B, this is the best platform, do you think? Yeah.
100%. Like hands down, the best platform.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. My pleasure.
Well, on that note, Liat, on behalf of Paul Mirage and the Mirage Institute, thank you so much for joining us today. And everyone, thank you for coming and being a part of our Mirage tribe. Ellie, as always, thank you for putting these wonderful talks together. And I hope to see you all next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.